Yeah, g'day YouTubers, Tinker O'Toole. This is part two. What I'd like to talk about today is I came across this paper and it talks about the impact of design parameters of a horizontal wood splitter on splitting force. So it goes on and it goes on and it talks about the shape, and the shapes that they're talking about are very similar, if almost not identical, to what I've got on the table. Number one is your standard wedge of 35 degrees. Number two, if you have a look, it's a wedge, but it's got a 55 degree wedge, roughly in the middle, and then it goes down to 20 degrees. And if you have a look at number three, it's got really large curved cheeks. So it talks about all of that, but interesting enough, at the top of the heading, when you read the first part of it, and we'll just have a look at that, it's just there, the abstract. So in the abstract it says, the article deals with the influence of the shape of the splitting wedge on the size and course of the splitting force. Today's maximum effort is made to search blah blah. Anyway, it talks about energy and everything else. And as we get down a little bit further down the page, it says, according to the results, the type of wood was the most influential factor, followed by the wood diameter and splitting wedge. Yeah, so what they're saying clearly, that the type of wood and the diameter of the wood. Now, that's what I've been saying all along, that if you're splitting softwood, it's neither here nor there. Softwood's pretty easy to split and you can split it with anything. But if you're splitting eucalypts, which is extremely dense timber, yeah, up to 1.2 tonne a cubic metre, compared to Pinus radiata, which can be 450 to 500 kilograms a cubic metre. So when you've got a density of 1.2 tonnes per cubic metre, that's quite dense timber. And the fibres are short fibres, twisted and interlocking, and if they're knotty, they're almost impossible to split open. So, interesting enough, when they talk about all of this, saying that the concave cheeks do help, but what I've been saying all along, that they only help a little bit. And if we look at this particular type of wedge here, this is your 30 degree wedge. So it's fairly basic. The next wedge, which they refer to, has multi different angles on it. But what's interesting about this one from Still, that if we have a bit of a look at it, what you'll notice, that the wedge shape here, you've got a large curve on the cheeks, but you'll notice the parallel section here. It's only about 8 degrees, and then it goes to the 30 degree edge on here. So the whole idea of this is that it gets into the timber, and by the time it gets to about here, the wedge starts to open up and it should really split open the log. So that's the actual idea behind that. Very similar with the next one, except it has larger cheeks. And the same thing, it's got this straight section almost here. This section here is fairly straight apart from the wedge. Wedge is about 45 degrees on this one. So by the time this gets into the log there, the large cheeks should help to bust it open. And when you go to your maul, your splitting maul can be a combination of this type of shape, except it's much heavier, around 3 kilos, 3.6 kilos, as with the Fiscus, Isocore Pro and a lot of the others, you know. So typically your splitting axes generally go up to about 6 pound maximum, and your mauls go up to about 8 pound maximum. So the final conclusion on your splitting axes and your splitting mauls is that the shape, while it does have some influence, the biggest influence of all is the type of timber that you're splitting and the diameter of it. Now, why the diameter is so important is because that if you've got a large round to split, let's just say it's over 2 foot diameter, and you start splitting in the middle, you're going to be doing a lot of hitting before that splits open. The easiest way to split open a large round is that you attack it at the side. So if it's 2 foot in diameter, you might come in 3-4 inches, just in from round the ring. Don't split in the middle. Just avoid the middle at all costs. Just split around the edges with the growth rings, and you'll find out that we'll split a lot easier. So if you've only got a splitting axe like this that only weighs a total weight of just over 2 kilograms, you're limited in the size of type of log that it's capable of splitting. As you go up in weight, then it makes a big difference. Also, the type of handle makes a big difference. With this still, which is a great product, it has the fiberglass composite type handle. The only drawback of that is that it doesn't weigh much. Whereas this splitter here is exactly the same. They're both 2 kilograms in weight. But the difference on the overall weight is that the wooden handle one, this one, has a total mass weight of 2.8 kilograms, whereas this is just tipping the scales at 2 kilos. So when you swing this one with the extra weight of the handle, it makes a huge difference. And that's what I like about wooden handles. The only thing that I would say about wooden handles is a lot of them don't come with overstrike protectors. I fitted this one with a stainless steel overstrike protector. Okay, so final conclusion to splitting axes. Really doesn't matter what you buy. The only thing that they did turn around and say in the paper was certain splitting axes are more suitable to certain types of wood. Now, you can't sell a splitting axe and say, hey, it's suitable for this wood, suitable for that wood. You could turn around and sell a splitting axe and say this splitting axe is designed for Australian hardwood. Yes, you could do that. Or you could design a splitting axe and say this is designed for European softwood. Yes, there's no such thing as one particular type of splitting axe or splitting maul is going to suit every single timber that is out there. That's not just going to happen. But typically, if you stick with some of the names like a lot of the German and Swedish type, expensive type brands out there, your Fiscus, your Husqvarna, your Still, in Australia, your Cyclone. If you stick with some of the better brands, I don't think you can go wrong. I'll just avoid those cheap Chinese ones that are made out of really crappy steel and they put ridiculous edges on them. It's probably the only point I want to touch on is, and they didn't sort of touch on that on the paper, as to what the beveled edge should be. In my experience, your beveled edge only needs to be very small, no more than about 30 degrees, and it only needs to be a couple millimeters wide at maximum. You don't need big, huge beveled edges on there. So if you're going to file the edge or reprofile it, just avoid some of these big beveled wide edges. Try and stick with 30 degrees, between 30 and 40, and try and have a beveled edge that's only a couple of millimeters wide where possible. Sometimes you can't get exactly what you want because of the shape of the wedge, and if it was manufactured with a huge wide bevel, it may have been manufactured overseas for the intention of softwood. If that's the situation, you'll have to re-bevel it, re-bevel the edge and get it to acceptable within no more than 45 degree bevel. 45 degree bevel is the maximum bevel that I would ever have on any splitting axe. And that's what a 45 degree bevel looks like. And This is what a 30-degree bevel looks like. That's a 30-degree beveled edge. Now, a 30-degree beveled edge is much better than a 45-degree beveled edge. But it also depends on the quality of the steel. As you go to a very thin beveled edge, even down 25 degrees or something like that there, you'll find out that the edge can damage. It's not as forgiving. It can be damaged quite easily in the poorer grades of metal. On the higher grades of metal, you can quite easily get away with 30 degrees without a problem whatsoever. Anyway, that's part 2. I hope that sort of helps. Just remember, there is no such thing as the magic splitting axe or the magic maul. It doesn't exist. What does exist is the different types of hardwood, and they have the biggest effect on splitting. The different type of wood has the most influential effect, not the shape of the wedge. The shape of the wedge is a secondary thing, and I've always said that, and the length of the handle as well. So, you know, the shape is one thing. It contributes to a small amount of the splitting action, but the weight of the head and the length of the handle, and we're talking about 800 mil in length, is fairly standard. If you go for a shorter handle of, say, 700, you'll find out that you reduce your splitting force. And a lot of people like the 900 millimeter handle, like what's on this one here. This one's 900 mil in length. So being 900 mil in length and being 2.5 kilograms, that's got a total weight of, I think, it's written on the end, I've got it written on there, 3.7 kg total weight. See, it's very interesting. If you've got 3.7 kg total weight here, and on the still, you've got a head weight of 2 kilo, and you've only got about 100 or so grams on the composite handle. So you've got just over 2 kilograms. So just over 2 kilograms, nearly versus 4 kilograms. Big difference with the wooden handles. That's why I favour wooden handles over the composite, because they add to the weight, the overall weight, which really does help a lot. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now.